All right, folks, we are live for the Remodeler Show. Shawn, say hi to the people.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. I don't have any of the cool sound effects, so I guess you're going to run all of the dings and the pops and the whistles, right?
Yes, you are correct. Now, I usually, when I'm doing it solo, I've got a little microphone, and when I have, I got to hold it up here, and I've kind of looked at that, and I'm like, that's really lame. It's already lame that I'm using my phone, so I might not use it too much. I think we're so interesting that I think we will captivate the audience, even if we don't have any sound effects. So we'll experiment with that today.
Yeah, we'll try that.
I have Shawn VanDyke on today's Remodeler Show. It's Tuesday, September. Did I say 8th? It's the 9th. Hang on 1 second.
It's Wednesday.
I didn't update it. That's what happened.
That's right. Because I had to take the trash out today.
Yes.
It's Wednesday.
Which is usually, so Tuesday is usually your day, but it's Wednesday because of holiday?
No. Wednesday is trash day, regardless.
But you had a holiday on Monday. They don't skip a day? Mine gets pushed back.
No way. Not our trash folks.
Okay.
Next level.
Wednesday night's usually my trash day, but I'm not worried about it because it's Thursday this week.
Yeah, people are riveted, by the way, right now.
Okay. Jim says, no way, 2 giants.
Well, no, he's the giant. I just have my camera lower.
That's true.
Kyle's much taller than I am.
It's fine. All right. So you'd be surprised. Sometimes when we talk about trash and talk about random stuff that provides zero value to the audience, that's what everybody engages with. It drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
I'm like, people, we're here not just to talk about random stuff. We're actually here to help everybody that's watching this become a better remodeler. I've got a few topics that I have for fodder today, and then we're also sitting here waiting for your comments. Shawn has written Profit First for Contractors. He has made an impact on several of my clients that I could point to that have read his book, that have implemented this Profit First system, have gone through the hassle factor of opening up different bank accounts, but actually have a much stronger, better handle on how their numbers work. So maybe you have some questions related to Profit First. I've got some topics that I'm going to ask Shawn about. But to kick things off, Shawn, give the audience just a piece of advice. What's a nugget of knowledge that says, you know what, this is something I talk a lot about. Here's a reminder for you guys. What do you got?
I use this quote all the time, and I used it when I owned a construction business and ran a high-end trim and millwork, and still use it with my team today. In the absence of information, people make stuff up. You want to know why your people aren't performing up to your standards is not because they're bad people. And I mean, again, it's pretty easy to identify bad people. You weed them out and it doesn't work out. But those ones that you're like, man, they do really good work, but why aren't they hitting the bullseye? It's usually because they don't have all of the information. There's a gap there. And so they're making it up. Oh, I think that this is what the boss wants. I think that these are the specs or the details or the level that we should be working to. And so in the absence of information, people make stuff up. They're good-hearted people, but they're doing it wrong because they just don't have the information. So you want to really dial in your processes and your systems, meet with your people more often and tell them exactly what you expect of them and what the job is sold for and at, and then have them repeat it back to you and say, okay, now you tell me what the job is or what the task is for the day or the level of detail.
People, take notes. First of all, we always want like takeaways. That last thing you just shared, have them repeat it back to you is something that if you're not doing that, if you implement that the next time you have a team meeting, that you explain something and then you have them repeat it back, that's powerful.
Yeah, I always say in the meeting, every single meeting, whether it's a quick huddle meeting, if it's a production meeting, scheduling meeting, or whatever, just say, okay, let's do a quick recap. And whoever's leading the meeting, facilitating, you don't speak. You've done all of the speaking. You've done all the directing. Let everybody else. And when you first started out, they'll be nervous because they don't want to say the wrong thing. And when someone says the wrong thing, celebrate it. Hey, that is absolutely not what I meant, but that's what you heard. Thank you for the courage, and celebrate those mistakes. And then other people will have the courage to say, hey, this is what I heard, or hey, boss, you're absolutely wrong. Celebrate those, and you'll get more feedback.
Yeah. This active listening. Use the phrase again, just because people need to hear it. In the absence of
information, people make stuff up.
And then we kind of segued into when you're having a team meeting. I was talking with one of my clients. Yeah, actually, I was texting back and forth with one of my clients yesterday, and she was struggling with a few of their employees. And I said, Julie, remember, compliment sandwich, share something positive that you like that they're doing, give them that constructive piece of feedback, and then end with something positive. And she said, I had that on my list and I've been doing that, or even just starting the meeting with something positive. And then one week I didn't have anything positive to say to them. So I just kind of took it off. And I said, have them share something positive that's going on. Who have they seen on the team? You know what? Shawn was killing it last week. I feel like he really stepped up. Or man, he communicated and handled a tricky situation. Getting your team more and more involved in team meetings. If your team's not communicating during a team meeting, that is 100% your fault, not theirs. You're not setting this level of converse. And you can start out by just getting I can get everybody talking within 30 seconds. One word open. Everybody, let's go around the horn. What's one word that comes to your mind? Now we're 30 seconds in. We got a pulse of the room, and everybody's communicated. All right, cool. Michael says that's called active listening. Excellent. All right, let's get into some questions. We're already flowing here. Grant said, I bought your book at the end of last year, read it in like 3 days, implemented it at the start of this year, and it has been a game changer for me. Thank you. It's not even a question. It's just, oh, Shawn, we love you.
Yeah. No, thanks, Grant. I appreciate that. I get messages like that a lot. Like, and I don't, at first I was taking it as a compliment, but then I thought, well, maybe there's something wrong with the book. People will say like, I read your book like 6 times, or I listened to it 6 times. And I'm like, oh, did it not come across the first time? Or, at first I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. People are really digging in. But then when you start to get that same message back, you're like, maybe I need to revisit something. Maybe it's too complicated. But Grant, that's awesome, man. And that's, people have reached out and they're like, it seems kind of gimmicky. I was like, no, the simplicity is what makes it so effective. We're measuring money in and money out and splitting up the percentages, and that's it.
Yeah. And what I see in what you wrote, Grant, is I implemented it. How often do we read something? We half read it. We start on something, but you implemented it. And that's what's been a game changer. It's not, I bought your book at the end of last year and it was a game changer. No, I implemented what I read, and we just need to constantly be reminded. I need to be reminded. We need to be implementing. Nancy said, profit first for contractors, ! I didn't open up additional accounts, but started with the 1% of each deposit, baby steps. Shawn, she's not following it exactly how she should. Yell at her.
She's following it exactly. Most people get stuck if they don't do profit first. They get stuck because they do read the whole book and they're like, oh, wow, I got to do all this. They get into the percentages and they say, what should I be charging? And my numbers don't make sense. I don't understand the profit and loss statement. So let me go figure all this stuff out first. Then they get distracted and go off and run their business. And they come back a year later saying, oh, I got to get back into this. It was a good idea. She's doing exactly what you should do. Like, if you don't have it all figured out, you just start with 1%. And now you can, she doesn't have the additional accounts, but that's what we say. Step 1 in the book, go transfer 1% into your profit account. And then she's starting with, okay, same idea, 1%. That's where you start. You don't have all your numbers figured out. You don't have everything in order yet. Great. Guess what? You may not have all that figured out in 3 months, but you can do 1% again. And a few quarters from now, you're sticking 3% of every deposit into your accounts. You're starting to see where other things are, where there's some issues, and you haven't crunched any numbers. You're just starting this habit. Then when it gets really important, when it really gets focused, say, okay, no more am I going to exist like this anymore, but I've got 3% sitting over here, 2% over here. Now I want to dial it in. You've got that habit, and it becomes very easy to do at that point. So I say, Nancy, you're doing exactly what you should be doing for your company, 1%.
And her next step is to do what? I told you to yell at her, not praise her.
Another 1%.
All right, there we go.
Yeah,
I like it. I've worked with Nancy for years. I was trying to have you give her a hard time.
Q4 is coming up. Bump it up to another 1%. Just like this time, you didn't miss that 1%. You won't miss it again.
Love it. Here's a question that I got. It was via text message. It was Alex, and he was asking, how do I manage quality and productivity? And I think Alex is very much attention to detail guy. He said, for me, I find that sometimes I get bogged down with the details, a lot of it being inconsequential stuff. And how do I call something good if it's 99.9% of the way there versus continuing to spend more and more time and it's costing him profit, efficiency, et cetera? What's some feedback or some thoughts you have for Alex?
Yeah, you just have to get really, really clear on what your menu is. And this is what I teach my clients is like when you have customers come to your business and they want to buy a product or a service, don't be a, concierge chef. Like, hey, we're going to figure out what's the highest level that we can deliver this product. No, we have a menu. You have a remodeling project. Is it a small kitchen or a small bathroom, a kitchen, whole house remodel or whatever, depending on the budget and all of the 1,000 different details. You got to be able to say, like, we pull this off of our menu. What's on our menu comes from an order that the customer can place. When they place an order, it's made up of ingredients, and those ingredients have a recipe. So you got to get really clear in saying, like, hey, I know that you can biscuit joint your mitered casing. But guess what? If your customer ain't paying for it, they don't get it. Now, I know that a lot of owner operators out there can do that. That's the problem. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. You should only do something if your customer is willing to pay for it. Now, there are certain examples where you're saying, hey, we're going to test this out. That's going to be a cost to me to improve the process. And there's a balance there. But you had said, like before, like, I want to get it 99% of the way there. Man, your customers don't even know what 75% is. Sell them 75%, develop a process, the order menu recipe or the menu order recipe ingredients process, and just say, hey, this is what our customers got. If we want to spend more time on it, we can give that to them, but just be very aware we're giving this away. Your customers think that 80%, 75% is 100% to them. They aren't experts, right? And I see so many craftsmen going way too into the details just because they can. And there's a cool factor associated with it, and I get that. But you got to really, that's where you got to hone in and say, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you're not getting a level 5 finish on this because you're not paying for that. We can do
or that never comes up with the customer, like you were saying, right? It's just in your own head, and this idea that it's got to be top notch.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about, covering up work or not fixing things, or, you find, especially in remodeling, you find bad work from other people or just incorrect stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, like, man, dialing in those details, sometimes you have to be able to step back and say, you either have to be able to step back from it and say, this is what they purchased, or you have to figure out how can we deliver it to them, improve your process in a way that we want to give them this level for the price that they can afford. So improve your process, or just don't take them to that level. And most of your customers are going to be super happy with 75%. And it's the same thing like with employees too. Same thing goes to employees. Like people, owner operators will say, I can't find somebody that will do it as good as I can. Yeah, well, good luck. You'll never find anybody then. But if you find somebody that can do it 75% as good as you, you can train them on, you can train them on the rest. But again, I'm just pulling that number out of the air, 75%. Sure. But that's the same. That's the level of quality that you're selling to your customers.
Good. What I would piggyback on that with, and audio's good. What I'll piggyback on it is, one way for Alex to maybe stop overdoing it and over perfecting is for him to understand the economic impact of that. If he's looking at his job costing and he understands that by doing that, he's 10 hours over, he's 12 hours over, he's 14 hours over, and he understands how much that's eating into his gross profit, eating into his bottom line, eating into his ability to hire somebody new, to invest in his business, that can get your attention in a hurry. All of a sudden it's like, okay, I've got to let good enough be good enough, because there is a huge cost that my perfectionism is costing me. So again, getting back, when you're looking at the numbers and the reality of that can also help you understand, okay, I can only take it so far. That would be something I would piggyback on.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that too is starting the job knowing how much time you have for each thing. Like, hey, we've got 10 hours to do this thing, or 15 man hours or whatever. When you hit that point, you got to make a decision and say, okay, am I going too far, or did I estimate it incorrectly? And then you can make a decision. You know what? We got to put another 10 hours into this, but I know the next time I need to slot this thing for 25 man hours, or I need to improve my process. Or the other thing too is every now and then pick that one thing and say, listen, I know that they paid for this level, but we're going to use this as a marketing piece. We're going to use this for that feel good, and I'm investing in the company. Now, you can't do that on every line item. Sure. But you pick those things and you decide, you know what, we're going to go over the top here. But if I go over the top on anything, I'm going to make sure that I get a testimonial. I'm going to pull out the video camera. I'm going to get some feedback from the customer on that thing I'm giving them.
Shawn, something that's been really frustrating me lately?
What's that?
I coach these remodelers. We put so much advice out. We put so many ideas out. They know that they need to be doing this, but there's still way too many remodelers who are not taking the time to look closely at their job costing. And it's driving me bonkers. What's wrong with these people, Shawn? It's so important.
Well, it's nothing's wrong with them. It's just not their strength, right? They didn't start a construction business so they could look at spreadsheets all day.
True.
But here's the thing.
And they're busy.
Well, everybody's busy.
Here's the thing.
Busy. I say, being busy is the enemy of being focused. But that would be one of those points where you did ding, right? One of the sound effects. But yeah, I mean, just understand, like, hey, I didn't get into construction and didn't start this business so that I could look at spreadsheets all day. That's not my strength.
Wow, the audience really like that. Being busy is the
enemy of being focused.
It's good.
But what you have to realize is there are people out there like me and other people. Stick me in front of a spreadsheet full of numbers. I'm like, my wife calls it my John Nash moment. You see a beautiful mind where you go in and he's got all of the things everywhere. Like, give me a spreadsheet full of data and I'll find the pattern in the chaos. There are people out there that love to do that stuff. And it's very, very inexpensive for you to have them say, okay, I don't know, everything about spreadsheets, but I'd need a job costing system. Here's a basic structure. How about once a week you drop in there and process these numbers and I'll pay you $15 an hour, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, whatever it is. Cause I mean, if the owner's trying to do that or not doing it, it's costing you way more than that. So just realize, like, hey, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just like, that's not your strength. Find somebody who has that strength and delegate it to them. Yeah.
And I was being sarcastic. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but I was emphasizing just it's so important, right? If you're hearing the advice of me, who's been in the trenches with remodelers, with Shawn, who's been in the trenches, and you just go around to all of the coaches and consultants, you've heard all of us say, you got to know your numbers, you've got to understand them, and even answering the question that Alex gave it, so much of it ties back into job costs. What were you expecting to make on this project? How many hours were you expecting to self-perform? And what was the actual? And yes, what you just mentioned of sometimes we just need a strong system. And yes, maybe you hire somebody to get a system in place, but we've just got to prioritize taking the time to look at those numbers closely. I think a big reason people don't is because they don't want to see the reality of it. If I look at the reality of it, either I'm going to have to manage my team better, I'm going to have to charge more in my estimating. The stuff that we avoid is the stuff that we most need to be leaning into and looking at. And job costing is one of those. Come on. But there is. I got a goofy look when I opened all those bank accounts. Small price to pay for how it has helped our business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I used to say when you go down and talk to the bank teller, they're going to give you some strange looks. Nowadays, like, I don't even know if you can go in and into the bank anymore. It's through the drive-through or whatever. Right. So it's probably even weirder, even more weird now. But yeah, you're going to get some goofy looks.
And that means you're doing something. That means you're doing something.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Or in Jim's case, the laundering look.
Oh, yeah. That's what I said on a podcast before. I mean, sometimes the way that contractors handle money, it is almost like legalized money laundering. It just comes right back in and it goes out to other different entities, and you don't keep any of it. And, the IRS says, wait a minute, hold on. This could look, I call it, sometimes contracting is like legalized money laundering, it seems like.
There we go. I have another question for you that I think you'd have some good insight into. This is from another person that texted me. We have two pretty good guys out in the field. These are skilled carpenters, but they seem to most always go over in labor hours and miss fine details, while also lacking in the communication department, in particular communication with our clients and themselves. They sell and set themselves apart on a phenomenal client experience. He doesn't want to let either of them go, but they're not making any progress. I talk to these guys quite often, reiterating how important these things are, but it just seems to fall on deaf ears. What are some thoughts on how I can rectify this?
Stop talking to them and start measuring them. That's it. Like, hey, we've got X number of man hours to do this task or this phase of the project. What do you think? And let them respond, oh, there's no way it's going to be done. Okay, great. Did I miss the estimate, or do we need to improve our process? But this is, for this project, this is what we've got. So let's talk about what the what the new win is. I've got 100 man hours into this. You say it's going to take 120. Okay, if we can agree on that, and I can understand that maybe I missed something or we can improve our process, then let's set 115 as the stretch goal. And just put it out there and say, okay, if we can both agree to it, then you've now accepted it. I've accepted that I got the estimate wrong, but now I've accepted your new number. Now report on that and see how we're doing. I hear that all the time. Well, I talk to these guys and I'm like, okay, well, what did you do when they missed the goal? If they were continued, if they were allowed to continue, there was no repercussions for that, then you're just going to continue to talk to them. So, but you have to be prepared. And I see this all the time as construction business owners grow their companies, become profitable. They've got great people that work with them. And those people, the reason that they're great is because they've been allowed to exist there. When you start measuring them, then you find out truly what that person is all about. And when you measure A players, they want to beat the game. Hey, I got 100 man hours in this. I don't think it can be done. I think it's 120. All right, let's see how we can improve the process. They come back and they surprise themselves because they knew how you were keeping score. Hey, I thought it was going to take 120. It actually took us 107 man hours. So maybe if we just adjust the estimate on the next one and they start improving. The other
and I'm hearing a team. Like we're on the same team. We're wearing the same jersey here, guys. It's not me versus you.
Yeah. So not only do they need to be measured, they need to know what the score is, but you need to make them responsible for, the lack of communication to say, okay, you're responsible for communicating to the homeowner, back to the office, filling out your daily log, whatever. And if it's a new system for people like, oh, that sounds really good. I like the way it sounds. When you do something new, give your folks a test period. Say, hey, for the next 4 weeks, we've probably got this wrong. So let's test this out. Let's tweak it. Let's figure it out. But as the owner of the business, 4 weeks from now, by the end of October, whatever, we will have this new system. And after that point, this is how you're going to be measured. So let's spend the next couple of weeks tweaking. Let's get a lot of feedback. We're going to spend more time in meetings because October 1st or whatever, this is the new system. And I'm going to invite you in, give us some input. We're going to work as a team. After that, then we're going to, this is how we're going to measure. And there'll be, obviously some evaluation or some other things, some repercussions if we don't meet this as a team. That what happens then is when you grow your business through that additional communication and more people come onto the team, you as the owner don't have to train them anymore. Your people say, nope, this is how we do it. You will fill out your daily log. I'm going to check your timesheets because I'm the lead and I'm ultimately responsible for it. So I've got to communicate with you. And if that weekly report, that daily log starts to get filtered down to other people, and they just say, this is how we work here. Instead of just like, hey, boss, you can get from good people. You get this all the time. I'm working really hard. Yeah, I know you're working really hard, but we're still not meeting the goals. So measure them, let them know how to win the game, test it, tweak it, and then set it as policy and make sure that if someone misses that, then what are the implications of missing that goal?
Yeah. What I'm hearing there is a lot less emotion and more dealing with the facts. There's hours involved. That's how this whole operation works. And we sell a certain number of hours and we put a lot of time and energy into that. And then the thing that I see, and I went back and forth a little bit with this person and it was similar to what I've heard and you've heard, is that maybe we tell them the number of hours at the start, maybe. But we're doing a very poor job of checking in on that weekly. How are we doing? This gentleman I went back and forth on, he's like, well, we do a pretty good job at the start and we usually go through it at the end. Right? We're missing huge opportunities to check in 10% of the way, 20% of the way, 30% of the way there. How are we doing? What you're talking about, let's set new goals. Let's set some micro goals. There's a lot of wisdom in what you shared. And the big thing there of let's just deal with the facts. We're not gonna be rude. We're not going to be mean. We're not going to make this a miserable place to work, but we're going to know the facts. We're going to talk how estimating production, that friction that probably is good, right, to have. And excellent. Cool. Let's keep on cruising. I think Shawn is correct. Many contractors did not get in the business to do office work, read spreadsheets. I get a fuzzy head when I'm overwhelmed by numbers and I check out. So I would just comment on that. Even if you do get fuzzy headed, even if it's not your forte as a business owner, you still gotta be able to read it. you still got to be able to understand it. You still got to be able to explain how it all works and how it comes together. So again, if it's hard, yes, you might have some support around you, some people to create it, but you are still the one responsible for understanding how those numbers work. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, you're ultimately that's what I tell my clients all the time when we talk about the issues and the things that are coming up. I said, all right, let's just deal with this real quickly. Congratulations. Everything 100% your fault. All right. That person that you hired, that bad client you're working for, the miscommunication, whatever. Awesome. I know, other people had hands to play in it, but you own the business. Congratulations. 100% your fault. Okay. So let's move on from that and start putting things in place to help, your people that work for you or the people that hire you understand your process a little bit more and spell it out for them. Again, back to in the absence of information, people make stuff up.
Love it. And Jim said, are you asking us to be good managers and good bookkeepers and good salesmen?
Well, no, I'm asking you to be a good business person. I mean, if you look at any CEO, and this is where the separation comes in. Well, I'm not a big corporate company. Well, you should think like like that. Like you look at these CEOs, they may have had some experience on the finance side. They're maybe good with numbers or whatever, but they don't have all of those strengths. Why do you think as a small remodeling company, or not even any kind of, even a custom home builder, like you're just not going to be good at everything? That doesn't mean that you don't wear 17 different hats to get from here to there, but realizing like, man, I got to take this hat off and bring somebody else in because it's taking me away from what my strengths are: selling, marketing, casting a vision for my company. Maybe it's at least looking at the numbers, learning about the numbers. You don't have to do the bookkeeping, but you need to understand when you say, hey, bookkeeper, I want to report on income, cost of goods sold, expenses, and net profit on a quarterly basis. Send that to me, put it on a graph. I just want to see the trends. And you don't have to be an expert financial, person to be able to see, whoa, there's a pattern here.
Something's out here.
There's a dip here. All right, person that's skilled in this, dig into this 3-week period and analyze that for me. I'm not good at that, but I can see there's an issue here. Yeah.
And Jim and you are kind of on the same wavelength. My point is team.
Yeah.
Have that team around you. Good. So as we near the last couple minutes of today's show, a couple things I want to do. One, I want the people who have been very active, and I appreciate y'all, or if you're watching the replay, what was your takeaway today? What was your takeaway? What's something that was good, and you're going to actually work to either remember or implement? And then, Shawn, I want you to tell people about courses you have coming up this fall and how they can get a hold of you. And then you and I are going to finish off by saying, okay, if you heard nothing else today, here's what I want you to remember. You'll do that, and I'll do that. So tell the people about courses you have coming up and how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, just like everyone else now in the COVID world, everyone's a business coach. Kyle and I have been doing this a little bit longer than some. So we didn't just start this year in 2020. But like Kyle, I've got an online academy. It's called the Built to Build Academy, where we just train. I'm a systems guy at heart. So if you don't like systems, if you don't want to document processes and get really nerdy with Google Docs and spreadsheets and standard operating procedures, then the academy's not for you, because we're all about systems. But we got 3 programs in the academy: Built to Start, Built to Grow, Built to Lead. You can check all that stuff out at builttobuildacademy.com. And right now we're in our open enrollment period through September 15th, where we're taking on new clients. After that, you got to wait until next year to get into the program. But you can go to the website there and check it out. And we, Profit First, all that stuff is there, paid for playing, but a lot of the same programs or same type of programs that Kyle offers. So I am a super nerd on systems. So that's what you get. And people say, oh man, it's an overwhelming amount of information. I say, yep, that's why we put it online, and we're going to work through it. So if you're interested in that, feel free to hop over there. But I know that Kyle's got his going on too, and he's going to take really good care of you in his program.
And Shawn and I both approach this of going, we do have some overlap in what we teach. And I think we both over time have just there's just a level of respect that I have for you and clients that, there's enough people that need help, and there's only so many of us, and just kind of viewing it of, the more you give, the more you share, the more you offer. Your voice is going to be exactly what somebody needs right now. My voice might be exactly what somebody needs right now. So builttobuildacademy.com. Cool. And then a couple takeaways. pull my book out and start reading it again. Work on my numbers. Awesome. Peel that out 1%, 2%, 3% of profit each deposit. Love it. So I'll go as far as what's my biggest takeaway from today's show, and then you're going to close us out with your biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is what Grant kind of hit at earlier, and I mentioned, and it's just my theme right now and with clients and in the fall, is just there's only so much. Everybody's busy. There's only so much time that we have to work on our business. Narrow the number of things down, maybe to just one thing. I'm going to work on during the month of September getting this implemented. Maybe it is profit first and opening up those accounts, or 1%. Maybe it is something else, but narrow it down to one thing and implement it. Have a big stinking whiteboard and it says, my focus for September when it comes to on the business is this. Fewer things, and work towards implementation, because that's what Grant did. He implemented, and I just can't emphasize that enough. What would be your final thoughts?
I think like we said at the beginning, communication. So present the information, and then say, all right, let's do a quick recap. What did you hear? What are you, what's the takeaway? Just like you're doing here, like, all right, we're done with this meeting. What's the takeaway?
Yeah.
And
I love that.
You'd be surprised at what you think you're saying. Right. And trust me, it's not what the people heard. You're going to think, oh, you heard that. And it's like, no, you weren't clear. Most of the time, it's not that you weren't clear. So there's some personality things. People hear things differently. But when you meet with your people, so 2 takeaways: meet with your people more often, and when you do, ask them, do a quick recap. Give me a quick recap.
Love it. Yeah. And it's going to get clunky at first. They're going to be like, what are you asking me? I'm supposed to be quiet. What are you doing here? But all of a sudden now it becomes a fabric of your business. It becomes part of your culture of how you guys operate. And there's just great power in that. Rob had a takeaway. I didn't get into this business to push paper, right? So have systems, have people around you that can contribute. Cool. Shawn, that was a pleasure. Thank you, sir, for your time and expertise. And we'll do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for having me on. Thank you to everybody that joined today.